with that out of the way, guys, let's get over and we'll check out the news. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Clyde Plays News. My name is Clyde, and today is a very special segment of the news. We're going to be talking all about World of Warships' Wargaming's new Waterline video, the first one to come out of their new office in Belgrade, Serbia. We got some new faces over here, some new people that we got to meet. We'll talk all about that and a little bit more. So let me pop over to this story here and bring up this. And let's go ahead and get started.
Greetings, Captains. In today's episode of Waterline, we'll be taking a look back at some most recent ships we've released in the game, then go into some detail about exciting upcoming content, including Pan-American cruisers, bombers on American hybrid battleships, and even a destroyer with a catapult-launched aircraft. You'll also hear about a new feature that will allow you to mount recommended upgrades with just one click, as well as the Airship Escort temporary battle type. You'll learn about all this and much more if you stay with us and listen carefully. But please note that all the information we're about to share is preliminary and subject to change.
Okay, quick sound test. Can everybody hear the video? Does it sound okay coming through the stream? This is the first time we've done this. So anybody in chat, let me know what's going on there. All right, sounds good. Okay. All right, let's get to it then. Thanks, guys.
Where's the line?
I'll tell you when to start.
Yeah.
Hello everyone, I'm Stacey.
First of all, I already want to talk about that. I love that they put in some of this behind the scenes stuff. I think it's really great. So I thought that was pretty exciting. I like the pictures of the new office. This room does not look very large. I have no idea how big the Belgrade office is. But we got a couple of folks here. They dress them in all earth tones. That's a comment all by itself for you to interpret as you will. And we'll resume. At any point, Scott, if there's something you want to chime in, just make a sound or something, and we'll pause it for you. All right, let's go.
How old?
Stacey.
Okay,
Oh,
how
go
old
ahead,
are
go
these two?
How old are these? These appear to be young people.
Good God, they just came right out of the high school and into the Belgrade office. These two look so young. I feel so old.
I know. Well, Emil in particular looks very young. I think Stacy's probably fairly young too. I think she introduced herself as Stacy. So Emil here on the left in the brown sweatshirt. That dude can't be more than 20 years old. How exciting for him to have a job working in the gaming industry. I had that same thought watching this. But yes, I do feel elderly. As a skateboarder, says Bowmaster. Fuzzer says, poster in the back need. You need a big wall for that poster too.
I just, at the old office, they had that gray-haired gentleman with the laptop all the time, and he just felt more age appropriate. Dasha had a lot more miles on her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. They'd always have that guy who'd show up and he had the dubbed voice, and he was always pretending to be an international man of mystery on boats and stuff.
These two are. I don't want to just crap on these two people.
No.
I think they did a really good job. And my favorite thing is at the end when she's so excited that she got through it. I just enjoy that moment that she's like stoked that she got through this, because I'm sure for both of them it's an ESL situation, and so this is probably not the most fun thing in the world to have to do. Right.
For folks, ironically, if English is not your first language, you might not have grokked ESL. It's English as a second language. That's a phrase or an acronym we use here when folks are bilingual.
It's a colonist or an imperialist statement. I probably shouldn't say it, but that's it. Yeah.
I don't know if that term by itself is incorrect, but you can certainly use it incorrectly. But when these folks, they're thinking in their native tongue, speaking in English for this audience, right? That's a challenging thing to do. It's hard enough for me to do my own videos in my own language when I wrote the script, right? Which is insane. But anyway, okay. We'll resume here for a sec.
Yeah.
No worries.
And I'm Emil. Let's really go through some of the most recent milestones in our game.
In update 0.11.9, submarines entered early access, and now American and German submarines are available for anyone to research in the tech tree.
Yeah, 6 submarines have been added to the game.
Moreover, Japanese light cruisers have been added.
Exactly.
Just pause
These
for a
ships have
second.
good.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's really weird that the first part of this is just like a recap since October.
I agree. Now, I think for the Waterlines, they've done a recap, but it did feel like in this video, the recap is long and extensive, isn't it?
It just feels weird.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that happened since October that I don't want to think about.
Yeah, no kidding. The they just went over some of it, didn't they?
Yeah.
I like how
check out these submarines and these Japanese light cruisers. The fall of 2022 was great in our game. Thanks.
they did. I liked that they had "yeah" with an exclamation point in the subtitles down below too. I kind of chuckled at that a little bit. He's like, "Yeah," but they put "yeah." We had those. Every time I watch one of these Waterline videos, and this is actually a question I would ask Wargaming if I thought they would answer it, but like they're always like. They're very, very strict on the script in almost all cases. I think when we watched one that Bogsy and Oskans did a while ago, they read the script like word for word. I think Bogsy made one sideways quip at one point. But I feel like they put a lot of work into writing these scripts for these things to make sure the message goes across as they intend. And so I think, when we see the cuts where these guys are holding the script and trying to get the lines right, she does the fist pump at the end. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't watched this. There's a lot of precision that goes into these videos, and so I think it's kind of tricky for them to put them out. And I kind of wish they could be a little more natural with them.
I don't know. I would guess it's a couple of things. One, I'm guessing the script is 100% vetted by like 18 lawyers.
Oh yeah.
And then number two, they have such a history with anything they put out to this community being weirdly scrutinized.
Yes.
Like harken back to this whole thing yesterday about the Illinois and the secondaries, right? So like if they don't lay out everything exactly a certain way, then it's just going to turn into like a hullabaloo for them, and it's a total drag. It's not for the size of the community and for the size of this game. It seems like it's a real stressful operation, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it is tough, and especially when it's an official communication. Obviously, the community streams and stuff are a different thing altogether. They'd certainly take a little more casual tack on those, but these are important, especially because we work in technology as well, and we understand that developing software and systems is complicated, and it doesn't always go the way that you think the first time. And these guys are giving us a very long view. In fact, let me quickly go back to this screen, and I will scroll down. So this is kind of the outline, right? What's already been done, that's what we're doing. Then winter 2023, that's January through March, and then spring 2023. They're giving us a 6-month roadmap here. And that's a long ways to look into the future and hope you get it right. And especially with the relationship that Wargaming and the community have, I think that can be, as you say, a stressful thing for sure. Anyway, we'll resume here and then pause next time we have a comment.
Firing range, decent concealment, and torpedoes with high damage and range.
New ship types and branches are always nice. Do you know what Edgar and Admiral Shukov have in common? They are not just cool ships, they are super ships.
Speaking of super ships, Patry, Edgar, Clausewitz, and Alarna are out of early access and available for everyone. Sekiryu and Admiral Ushakov took their place in early access.
So the terrible super ship joke was silly. Yeah, I mean, so that's what we got when they're talking about all these new ships, right? We did the submarines, we did the Japanese cruisers, we're doing all these super ships. All three of these things are things that have had some consternation from the community. There are probably a couple of moments, a couple of things in there that are nice, right? Some of the super ships are a little bit more comfortably integrated into the game. Amono is not so bad in the Japanese light cruiser line. That's the highest tier I have so far. And from what I've heard from others, it seems to be the bright spot in that line, but not a strong list of ships to be coming out of from that quarter. So I'm really hopeful that what we see in the next quarter and beyond is going to be an improvement.
I like that you paused it here and we're recapping something that happened in October.
Yeah.
Like, check this out. Hey, y'all remember this?
Remember Halloween?
Yeah.
Kato says Yodo's broken, it's too OP as long as you remain angled. I think that is probably not the most commonly held opinion, but I'm glad it's working for you, Kato. Jetty says it's a challenge to deliver overly vetted jokes in your primary language, and these guys are giving it a try. Absolutely. They're overly vetted jokes. It's one language away from the language that you'd rather be speaking. I think they, delivered the jokes just fine. It's just that they're cheesy dad jokes. All right, let's talk about October for some reason.
In the next few minutes, we'll remind you of the dreaded Twilight Fleet and the Greek hero Destroyer Velos. What is the Battle Pass and how does it work? Where can you admire the beautiful new surf effect? How did we go all out for the holiday season? Stick around
I like that
and
where
find
they
out.
quickly lean in on Velos, and then they show the battle pass. Like, hey everybody, remember what we were just talking about, subs and super ships you may not like?
Yeah.
But you would have liked to have been able to buy Velos, but you can't yet. Also, we put the battle pass in. How do you like giving us more money every month for that?
Yeah.
Where do you think we got these nice earth tone clothes we could do this video in?
No, that's not Emil's fault. That's not Stacy's fault. I did just think that same thing. Velos is the coolest ship they've mentioned in this thing so far, and it has not been easily available. Right? You'd have to spend $140, I think is what it cost, if you wanted to get it already, which is a lot of money. And so hopefully they'll have a normal pack. They did say it would come early in 23, and so we're in 2023 now. So we're hoping that shows up soon at a more reasonable price. But I think it's going to be a dub. Well, I don't know this, but my theory is it's going to be a dubs only premium at that point. And so that's still going to be kind of a spendy boat. Tier 9 is usually $78, $77 US. So, yeesh. But there's Battle Pass. Battle Pass has been up and down. I think we liked the first Battle Pass prizes, at least. I think people didn't like the idea that it's, it's doubloons, it costs doubloons. But some of the other top tier items, the ultimate prizes or whatever the last prize had been, questionable. I know we talked about how we think they're kind of experimenting with that.
Yeah, I think they're trying to find the lowest amount of stuff they can put at the end that people will still pay for.
Yeah.
They started with a tier 7 premium, and then they went to some tickets for Santa things or whatever.
Santa crates, yeah.
And now they're down to a tech line boat that normally there would be a mission chain that we would usually be able to do that would just get us there, right?
For free, right?
Yeah.
I know that's what you're implying, but I'm just stating it directly, right?
Yeah, I think if you were gonna do the one they did this month, the way they did the Nebrahoma should have been the top. It should have been the free one and not the 10 crates for the Pan Am captain. Put them on the bottom, I guess, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, maybe. Or put the permanent camo in there for the Nebraska. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you get the ship, yeah, but you also get the permanent camo, right? Which is also available for free for a mission, but that's something that seems like it has a doubloon value, more so than a tech tree ship does.
200 on a tier 8 if it doesn't come with an econ bonus.
Yeah. Although this is like it's the special edition camo though, right? Which is
still doesn't come with an econ bonus.
Does not come with an econ bonus.
Maybe if you gave me the econ bonus and the camo, I'd be okay. But
you'd maybe come around.
I get what you're saying. I just assume next month the battle pass, the end prize is going to be like, like an Orion. Like, here you go.
It's
tier 4 British tech line boat. Enjoy, suckers.
Next battle pass is a 10% off coupon for the next battle pass after that, right? That's silly. I don't know. Let's see what comes next.
Operation Saving Transylvania and Sunray in the Darkness returned to the game in the autumn, as well as Twilight Battle, in which players had the opportunity to stand at the helm of Twilight Fleet ships and try out their equipment with unique characteristics.
You also might have enjoyed our new cool adventures on our portal. For example, one of them allowed players to follow the Warpath of Velos, the first Greek representative in our game.
Captains, we have added the Battle Pass.
The Battle Pass is designed to unite and organize activities around daily, weekly, monthly combat missions. You can play and earn Battle Pass point, fill the progress bar, and complete its levels to earn rewards.
Oh boy, that's an interesting place to pause. What do we think about those portal missions? I think I'm fine with the portal missions. I think I'm not fine with them giving us permission to buy a $140 ship at the end. Like, I feel like we should get something cooler than that. Or, I don't know. I feel like that's an interesting thing. I don't mind the web campaigns, I guess. They're a little tedious to get to, but...
No, I don't like them.
Yeah.
I think,
I don't know.
whatever. What was the first one of those they did? Was it last year when they brought back Missouri? Like
probably Missouri, then Black maybe.
I got like bad feelings because they're like, we're gonna bring back Missouri and we're gonna nerf it, and all you schlubs that had it before, we're gonna kind of give you a mission. It's never gonna be the same, and it's always gonna suck. Oh, and by the way, for the people that don't have Missouri, you get to spend a bunch of money to get it and do this portal thing. So I don't like them. Just put the boat out. If you have the audacity to try to sell Satya and Sand for $77, just sell Missouri for $77. At least it's not a bummer.
Yeah, I think the motivation, the reason they do those web campaigns is because they could code all that on the side and it doesn't affect the in-game stuff, right? There's lower risk to the client itself, right? And so like from a technical standpoint, I understand all that, but it is weird to have missions that are outside the client that we have to go do and then pay attention to. And if you didn't hear about it on the YouTube channel or on the official stream or something, then you go there and you're like, what are these Christmas windows that we have in a browser for some reason? Like, I know that's not a portal mission. All that stuff.
But I really didn't like that one at Christmas. I really didn't like that, having to go click on those Windows things, because I just found it. I was like, which ones did I click on? And it was like, I just thought it was a drag every time I had to go back to do that so I could unlock 3 gray economic bonuses.
That one was too complicated. I didn't bother to do it. I don't know how other people reacted to that one. I did do the one with the spinning logo we could click on and win cool prizes, and I won a bunch of cool stuff from that. But the Christmas window one was way too much work.
And I liked the crazy one they did for Hampshire, where they had this like alternate reality theme with like
the visual novel, the comic book
thing. And it was obvious that they were gonna make a captain. They were gonna have the pirate captain, and that lady should have been a captain that was like the explorer, and they just didn't.
Yeah, that was a bummer. I really wanted her.
It seemed like somebody leaned in on making that event, and then they kind of like half did it. Like whatever.
Like they ran out of time to make the other captain or something. Or
they were too busy figuring out what was going on. I mean, at the time with the developer and what's going on in their country, I'm sure it wasn't exactly a thing that they were like focusing on.
When all the boxes got to Belgrade, they found out no one had labeled them, so they had to open them all one by one, see what was inside. They're like, oh, here's the pixels. This is the red pixel box.
Yeah, no, that's why they're recapping what happened in Autumn, because these two are just learning for the first time what went on in the game before they were hired. So
no kidding.
They're like, oh, there was this thing called Twilight Battle. I don't know what you guys. Oh, there's pictures. Like, oh. Yeah,
I will say,
that's
like,
what this recap's for.
Watching this again, these guys did a great job. They just really did. I'm pleased with the folks they chose for this. But okay.
Yeah, I'm not trying to disparage the people. I'm just disparaging the content.
Fair enough. Everything's on fire.
We also got 5 updated maps in the game.
The game received another major graphical update. HD textures have been added to 5 maps. A surf effect and dynamic reflection on all surfaces have also been added, as well as improved vegetation, models, and animations for ship wakes. Our game looks better than ever. Praise the art department.
This is a small thing, but I'm glad that they're continuously doing these graphics updates. I mean, this is a game like this that's going to run as long as they plan for this to run. They've got to do that. I remember when I first started, I first tried World of Tanks in 2014. It felt like they were behind on that kind of stuff. World of Warships has always been more ahead of the game. It's never looked too bad. I mean, this is not the most beautiful, graphically intense game I've ever seen. I've played some really beautiful video games, but this game's keeping pace with what it needs to seem like a modern game. And a lot of the graphic updates lately have been good. But anyway.
Hi, I'm Mike, Head of Franchise Services for World of Warships. We are currently looking for proactive, out-of-the-box thinkers who can bring fresh ideas and a unique perspective to the table. The World of Warships project is driven by a team of international developers who combine their talents with their passion for video games, resulting in World of Warships being a favorite hobby for millions all around the globe and having a flourishing community. If you're
real quick, so you and I were talking about this, Skada, and you're like, I think that's their whole office. And looking at this the second time, right, where Emil and Stacy were giving us the rundown, and then where they panned this camera around, it appears to be the same room the whole time. I don't know how big the Belgrade office is, but it's seeming smaller and smaller as I watch this again.
Yeah, it's 1,500 square feet with a bunch of tables from IKEA and some folks sitting on either side of them in a what do they call that?
Open concept
programming environment. Yeah,
I'm sitting there looking at that, being like, dude, if I had an open space, if I had worked at an open space like that, I would go crazy.
We don't do that where we work because we're old and like our work doesn't believe in that kind of stuff. But I know that's like a thing in modern, more modern tech offices. Settings. They got that big poster on the wall that they took a JPEG and they went and printed that, put it up. And when in that previous angle, you could see there was a doorway there. That either goes to the one conference room or it goes to the boss's office. And there's just
maybe Mike's office here. Mikhail, who goes by Mike, I appreciate it.
Is he the boss? I couldn't tell from.
I don't know if he's the boss, but he's the guy who's talking about hiring you.
I appreciate that. But oh, that's right. This was the part where they're trying to hire people.
What I was also going to mention is this is really interesting. They're reaching out and saying, hey, we have this tells me that this is a company that is interested in hiring people. And if you're a company that's interested in hiring people, you know, you've hired people before with Skada and stuff, and you know that it can be difficult to get that word out to the people that you want to apply. And so, like, why not take advantage of this opportunity to get people who are already passionate about your project and your product to look at you as a potential employer. Now, I'm not necessarily interested in moving to Serbia myself, but I'm, you know, people who live in Europe might be, right? And so that's,
I don't know.
That's interesting. I don't know.
I don't want to get too deep down the rabbit hole of that, but I think it's kind of a weird call out because I think you're banking on citizens of Belgrade and I don't know what they call
nearby
themselves.
Countries or whatever,
or Serbian people. You know, somebody made the comment to us at one point that the reason they moved this office to, or they planted this office there, was because that country's not part of the EU, and so they like there's some stuff there that they're skirting with where they put offices. And so I don't know what kind of where they're calling out what, and I don't know what it's like over there in regards to folks like migrating amongst those countries for work.
Yeah, I imagine moving between the EU, and I'm not, you know, I don't know if we have European people here, moving between the EU and a non-EU country is probably harder than moving in and amongst EU countries.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
So that's probably a challenge.
I do like this part where he's like, "Hey, check out that we've got at least 2 spaces open behind me. You can sit here between these 2 gentlemen, and we'd love to have you come in." If the thing that we worked on, if I could make YouTube videos to pitch for people to come work for me, I might do it.
Yeah, no kidding. Why wouldn't you? You know. Anyway, let's move on. And see what else Mike and company have to talk about.
If you're interested in joining the World of Warships team in Belgrade, check the link in the description. We want you here.
I like that.
Yeah, I thought that made me laugh. Oh no, there we go. That made me laugh too. Just we want you here. And then his face is just kind of like, I mean, I guess, you know, like.
Yeah, he's kind of nonplussed about it.
In the beginning of 2023, a branch of American Hybrids battleships released in early access. 3 new ships are awaiting players: Nebraska, Delaware, and Louisiana.
Their main batteries have good range, but not the highest damage per minute. They also have a squadron of dive bombers armed with HE bombs. But be aware of the large, lightly armored superstructure that makes up their hangar space. The next branch to be added to the World of Warships text.
What do you got?
That's the second time an official wargaming video that I've seen in the last month has described a new line as being released with main batteries that have good range but not very good DPS. Okay, continue.
What's the other time?
They did it in they put out a video selling the IJN cruisers, and the guy's like,
I thought that's what you were
They don't have good guns. They don't have good this. They've got torpedoes. Check them out. Like, it's twice now, 2 times in a row where they put that in one of their scripts. It cracks me up every time.
Yeah. It's it seems like that's like a gap in the possible combinations of things that they're just kind of filling with a few lines or something, which we don't, you know, we're not immediately in love with. I don't think those battleships are too bad. Their guns are okay. The shells are slow, but you know, we'll see how they, you know, fare when players get their hands on them and stuff.
I don't think the shells are any slower than North Carolina shells.
No. I think they're right in there with the other U.S. battleships.
They feel the same.
Yeah, the numbers and stuff. So, and we've got British subs here. Let's see what we got to say about British subs.
Tree is reserved for British submarines. The following ships will be added to the game: Undine, Sturdy, and Fresher.
You know, the new submarines have only one type of torpedoes, homing. They come in large number per salvo and have a fast reload, but low damage.
Briefly about what lies ahead. The new Airship Escort. Now there are more maps and a wider selection of ships. Commander Sa Shenbing. What are his talents? Unique upgrades for Tier 10 ships and new but familiar aircraft carriers coming to the game. Interested? Take a look.
Can we just change the name? We decided to choose a new name for the temporary battle type, Airship Escort. You will be able to participate in any ships of tiers 8 to 10.
It's not a secret that we regularly test the new mechanics in temporary battle types with the aim of adding them to the game permanently at a later date, and the Airship Escort is exactly the case. Therefore, if updated version of the mode performs well this year, it's very likely that Airship Escort will become our main candidate for adding to the random battles in the future as one of the possible game modes.
I'm divided on this one because I kind of like Airship Escort. It's fun. But I don't know if I want it to be mixed in with randoms, and I know I have no ability to influence this, so I just need to let it happen if it's going to happen. But I do like it. I don't know. What do you think about Airship Escort being mixed in with the rest of the random modes?
I mean, it's less hokey than Arms Race as far as like statistics go.
I think that's true.
So I don't know. I think what'll happen with it, which I think is unfortunate, is much like Arms Race, they'll drop it in, but it'll only be in the rotation for 8, 9, and 10. And that's too bad.
Yeah,
I don't understand why they, well, we're only putting these different modes. If you like playing 5 through 7, I hope you like Domination, or like it's kind of lame. But
yeah,
we've heard. I think we've both heard rumblings all month from our own communities that we're a part of that this return of airships or dirigible derby is it's kind of like a let's try this out and see if the community likes this mode still, and then we'll throw it in randoms. And the community liked Arms Race when Arms Race was its own mode, and then was like, why are you putting this in randoms? Why are you messing with my stuff? So I think we talked about this too. I think one of the first streams where you were playing airships, and you made the comment about not liking the idea of it in randoms because of the ships. You won't be in the right ships, and I actually like the idea of it in randoms for that reason. I like the idea that people won't all be in Schlieffens and Xenons and Chungmus and stuff, and that they'll have to be in a more wide variety of non-selected, because they won't know they're getting that mode, so it won't be like the perfect ships for that mode.
Yeah,
I'm actually okay with that happening.
You countered with that statement right away, and I sat back in my chair and I was like, you know what? I like it. I'm flip-flopping.
Yeah,
I like that. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I actually do. I do think it'll end up in randoms, and I hope it does. I'm fine with extra variety. But I mean, like I miss Epicenter. I liked Epicenter. So like I was one of the weird guys that enjoyed that mode. So go figure.
To each their own for sure. I mean, in chat we got a few comments. Kilo India Alpha Wow says no. Kato says let's keep airships. Fuzzer says airship feels like randoms, but with co-op damage numbers, right? So we've certainly got opinions about this stuff, and I think as soon as this mode came back, we knew it was round 2 with Airship Escort, and we knew that, or Dirigible Derby, now Airship Escort, and like we'd just seen Arms Race get plugged into randoms, and so I think everybody immediately their radar went off and was like, hey, wait a minute, what if they put this in randoms? Like we've been tracking that as a community pretty readily right away, and of course here they're talking about it in Waterline. I think if they plug it in there, it's not the end of the world. I think Airship Escort will be not very different mode, but it'll be a different mode when it's not all secondary battleships and torpedo spamming destroyers, right? So as soon as we see that kind of stuff shuffle to be a more naturally selected group of random battle type ships, I think the mode will kind of settle into what it's going to be like. And I think that'll be interesting. I think some players will find themselves in frustrating boats for the mode, but other players will enjoy it.
I think what you'll see is you'll have team makeups where you end up with one team that is just completely ill-equipped ship-wise for Airship Escort, and you'll have I would say that you'll have more raffle stomps, except the fact that you're escorting the airships kind of sets the tempo for the game, unless you just go murder everybody, which Doesn't always happen in that mode. Sometimes it does, but
I feel like I'm going to say something, and I'll be interested in your reaction. I feel like we see fewer raffle stomps in Airship Escort because the airship objective maybe distracts us from what allows us to raffle stomp normally, but maybe not. Maybe it's just a perception thing, and I'm not sure. That'll be something that'd be interesting to watch. Anyhow, Freaknik says, all I ever see in Airship Escort is 6 Schlieffens and 4 GKs. Yeah, no kidding. That does happen.
This year is not without its traditional Lunar New Year celebration. This time we've prepared the Age of Sergeant Bin themed collection, the reward for completing which will be Sergeant Bin himself, the new unique commander for Pan-Asian ships.
You will have special customization, talents, and enhanced skills for different types of ships. As we have announced in our development blog, we are beginning testing on new unique upgrades for Tier 10 ships.
The first 2 upgrades for Venezia and Haaland are already in the closed testing, right, Stacey?
Yes, Emil, indeed.
From new upgrades to other new features. How are the previously removed aircraft carriers doing? About them and much more, we'll tell you right now.
The old odd-numbered tier aircraft carriers are coming back to the testing ground, so they will be the aircraft carriers you're already familiar with from before this ship type was reworked, but with new distinct mechanics, aimed among other things at encouraging teamwork.
Right now, we are developing the minefields mechanic that can be laid by planes from these aircraft carriers, and we still expect their squadrons to have access to an aerial smoke generator, which will allow them to hide their light ships from the enemy.
Okay. Listen, this could be controversial. I like these ideas. These are good. This is asking carriers to be part of super collaborative play. And I'm hoping that it works. I really am. I don't know how much you're, wanting to share on this, Skada, about these concepts, but I really am excited about the idea of aircraft carrier, these support carriers that do jobs that support allied ship play in a very direct way, because I think that's one of the complaints we get about CVs. Oh, those guys are just off damage farming and stealing my kills and things like that. I'm hoping that, I think one of the technical challenges here will be for the team to figure out how to balance these in a way where the carrier still gets, they still get XP, they get rewarded adequately for doing these support activities. Which are unlike any of the other support activities in the game. They're not totally unlike them, but we feel as players that we don't get rewarded well enough for smoking allies or for spotting or whatever. These CVs would need to make sure they were getting theirs in this context. Scott, I'm not sure if you've got any comments on this or not.
When they had a closed test that they had announced in a dev blog on this topic last year. I don't remember when it was. Was it in the spring? It seems like it was a long time ago.
It was earlier, yeah.
It was in 2022, and they had a dev blog about it, and they talked about minefields and smoking, planes that could do smoke. They also talked back then about a mechanic that was basically stun lock.
That was a terrible idea.
And I noticed when I watched this the other day, they don't talk about that stun lock mechanic anymore. I
also noticed that.
I think there was also a mechanic that they talked about in that thing that was like it would block radar from working somehow. There was like a chaff cloud or something like that. I can't remember what they called it, but it made radar not work.
Yes.
And I don't think they mentioned that this time around either. I think they talk about the mines and they talk about the smoke line, right? But
I think those are the only two mechanics they mentioned.
I don't know when. I'm excited that they're continuing the idea of that based on the fact that they had talked about it and done a closed test previously.
Yeah.
Those are assets that a lot of folks that played the game prior to the CV rework have asked about for years, right? Like, where's my Essex? Yep. Where's my Taiho? Where's my Bogue? Right. So they've got those assets. And then, like, at some point, I just kind of figured they would just be like, F it. And like, you'd get like the Essex as like a premium, like tier 10 or something like that. Right. It would just be another carrier.
So models and everything.
But I agree with you in that I like the idea that they might offer a different kind of carrier play style.
Yes.
I don't, I'm not a good carrier player because I don't ignore what's going on and just farm damage. Like I try to spot and I try to take out DDs first, and I try to play in a specific way. And like I still get my damage, but I'll never be like, crazy damage man, right? And so like I like the idea of this. It appeals to me.
I'll never reach the level of crazy damage man. Yes,
right.
Sorry,
yeah,
continue.
I know, but I like the idea of being able to lay a smoke line. That's a thing that really is a real thing.
Like super exciting. As a destroyer main, I love that idea.
Yeah, I like the idea of minefields in the game. I don't like the idea of the first time them being introduced is something that a carrier deploys. I would rather
agree with that.
I would rather see like a line, like a US destroyer or a Japanese destroyer. Well, not Japanese, they already have one. How about a USDD split, because we've been asking for that forever. And then maybe that split of USDDs actually has that capability to deploy mines, and maybe doesn't have ASW because they wouldn't really miss it anyway. But yeah, I like the idea of different and interesting new mechanics that aren't homing torpedoes from unseen enemies. So yeah, that sounds cool.
Let me grab a couple of comments from chat. I think I was not surprised that this is one that encouraged a little bit of conversation. So Grant Y says, turning CVs into a support class has several problems. Number one, teamwork in random games is rare. And number two, most of your XP and credits earned per game comes from damage done. How will they balance the support CVs to earn the same as the damage dealing ships? I like the idea of support CVs, but I think they'll be hard to implement. That's exactly kind of my concern as well, Grant. I want to make sure these guys I want them to get paid, right? If you go out there and do awesome support activities, you should get awesome rewards. Just like somebody who goes out there and gets 250,000 damage in Yamato, you should get something great if you do something awesome in your support style carrier. I think that's really tricky. Or not tricky, but really important. Yeah, go ahead.
I wouldn't presume that these don't have offensive capability.
Also that. I wouldn't presume that either. That is a very good point. They might have reduced, or it might be exactly the same, right? Or maybe they only have one type of squadron or two, or you know what I mean? But I don't think they're not going to be able to attack anything. Would just be one thing.
Yeah, I don't think when they say support CV, you should expect that they're going to fly around, drop smoke, or do whatever, and then just be like spotting planes. I don't think that's realistic. I think they may not have rockets and torps and bombs, right? They may have
like two of those three or something.
Yeah, but we've got plenty of premium carriers where they play with those kind of ideas where you only get two kinds of squadrons. And I would assume that you're not going to have some kind of special plane that you have to launch that does those magic things. I'm guessing it's just going to be like
your torp bombers.
It's just going to be an action button,
smoke stuff or something.
That'd be my guess. I don't know. I for all I know, depending on how they do laying minefields or something, it may even work like an airstrike, like a Dutch airdrop. Who knows?
Yeah. Foaming Jetty says, I like the notion of encouraging carriers to pay attention to the team, but I hate to admit I have no confidence that the average CV driver can execute teamwork. If most CVs are in it for the strike, they just won't choose this they won't choose this type. If players are in it for team play, the current CV perspective is a poor match. These kinds of effects are wasted or even hurtful to the team if misapplied. In the end, I want to believe, but I have no interest in increasing the number of planes in the game. I think that's a very fair and probably a very common opinion as well from Foaming Jetty here. He says, look, planes broke warship dominance in real history. Let's not repeat it in our fantasy. They absolutely did. That is totally a true statement. And so, I'm really curious to see what the rest of the design holds. We don't get a lot of details in this Waterline video. I could see, I'll throw one more grenade out here. I could see a world where these carriers do have some reductions to what they can do in terms of DPM versus a regular strike carrier. And there's a possibility where only support carriers are allowed in competitive modes like COTS or clan battles,
Yeah.
But that still lets them spot destroyers and stuff, which is really brutal in those modes. Go ahead.
We haven't seen it. I don't know how they would do it. We haven't seen them even talk about the concept, right? I personally would want support CV to be a different class than CV for matchmaking, because I don't want I think you'd be at a disservice if you dropped in a match and one team had a support CV and the other team had
a strike
knock 'em
CV
off,
or whatever. Yeah.
right? Or you know what I mean. I think that would be a downer. I'm guessing. I'm
a little worried about what that means for matchmaking though, because like, does that mean we can have 3 CVs on a side? Does it cut into the other guys so that those other CVs have to wait longer? Like, I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah, and that won't work that way for that very reason. They're just they won't. It'll all just be CVs.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's into the comment about not wanting more planes in the game. We just talked about an American hybrid battleship plane launching line. I think, unfortunately, somewhere else in this video they're going to talk about a destroyer that launches planes. So I feel like proverbially that ship has sailed.
Yeah, toot toot.
I'm actually looking forward to the new hybrid aircraft carriers, where the aircraft carrier will have a main battery gun that you can fire upwards of 20 kilometers.
Wait a minute. Those may have come out. Okay, let's continue on and we'll see what's going on here next.
This winter, we will be testing the change domination mode from random battles. We'll revise the starting number of points at the beginning of battles and the number of points awarded to one team and taken away from the other when destroying ships.
The changes are designed to reduce the number of extreme situations when the battles go either too fast or too slow. We will test it in the super test and public test of the version 12.1, and if it shows good results, we will add it to the main server.
By the way, earlier when they showed that guy playing Space Invaders on his computer, conspiracy theory time, I think there was just something on the screen that we weren't supposed to see, and they covered it up with Space Invaders. That's totally what happened, right? All right, let's continue.
To continue the conversation, what does the coming spring have in store for us? We're starting a geography lesson. Pan
Stop for a
American
second.
cruisers are...
You got it.
Okay, where are we at? How far are we into this video now?
8. We're more than halfway.
Okay, this is the part where they finally start talking about stuff that's not already in the game that you've already seen and done, right?
Yep.
Basically,
This is the
I guess
future.
they briefly mentioned support carriers, but now they're finally like, they're not talking about things like they aren't past tense, which they've been doing for 8.5 minutes for the most part. Like, anyway, go ahead.
Yep. No, I did think that's funny. This is a 13.5-minute video, and we're at minute 8:43 or whatever. So like, it's like 5 minutes of new content, 8 minutes of recap with a few things sprinkled in. All right, let's continue.
Getting into the game, new branch of destroyers is added to the European fleet, the first researchable branch of our game's newest nations, and other new ships. More about all of this right now.
As we already announced, close testing of Pan American Cruisers branch will begin in update 12.0. The goal of developing this branch was to create a gameplay where combat instructions would play an important role.
The preferred combat range is medium, and thanks to the surveillance radar and characteristics of the repair party consumable, the ships will be effective in engagements over key areas, as well as those in open water. Updated.
Okay, so, I'm not going to say much more than kind of what they just told us, and that is some things that will be interesting about these Pan American cruisers, right? And I, based on the numbers that we've seen on the dev blog and everything so far, I think sometimes Wargaming says things about their ships and they're just kind of wrong. I think these make sense based on what I've been reading in the dev blog and stuff. So it says it's medium range stuff. They're going to be contesting caps. It's going to make sense that they're in those regions. And if the combat instructions work the way the design seems to suggest, they will encourage aggressive gameplay, just like it says on the text on the screen right now. So for players who like scrapping over caps, I think these could be really interesting ships, provided they come out as described. So I'm really watching that closely as we get going. Bowmaster also corrects us and says that was Galaga, not Space Invaders. It was definitely not Space Invaders. You are correct. I can't confirm or deny if that was Galaga.
Combat instructions encourage aggressive gameplay, rewarding constant firing and allowing you to use your ship's consumables more often. Additionally, as we mentioned in the last episode of Waterline, in our development blog, there will be a second branch of European destroyers. Ships in the new branch will represent countries such as Turkey, Norway, Poland, Yugoslavia, and Greece. The branch is still in development, and the concept of the branch may change during testing scheduled for the first half of 2023.
The concept of these newcomers is artillery-focused destroyers equipped with smoke generators and surveillance radar at tier 8 to 10. This spring, we are also preparing a Spanish cruisers branch, the first.
Okay, So we got our announcement. This was kind of a new announcement of a ship line they already soft announced, which is the new destroyers. So it's going to be a pan-Euro destroyer split, which will be more tech tree destroyers, which are going to have smoke and radar and be kind of gun focused if they could pull off balancing and things. That sounds like a really powerful line, maybe an overpowered line, depending on how the things come out. Wargaming does tend to dial that stuff back by reducing reloads. Or reducing reload speeds, increasing reload durations to nerf ships like that if they're too powerful. So it could be that these are like slower firing by the time they finish getting balanced. Time will tell. If you're interested in this, guys, there is a Clyde Plays News and a devblog article that shows these ships. They had some early preliminary drawings. I can't remember if they've come out with better artwork for these yet, but I suspect we'll start seeing that soon. And then now they're talking about a Spanish cruiser line. This has been something we've been theorizing over for a while. And I don't know if they've said it already, but they're about to say, if they haven't, that this is going to have the not reload booster, but the burst fire mechanic as a mechanic for that line. Skada, any thoughts on the pan-Euro destroyers or the Spanish cruisers that we're talking about here?
I think when they showed the content before for the pan-Euro split, they looked interesting. They're it's an interesting set of countries.
Mm-hmm.
I like that about it. Spanish cruisers, I think it's good that they're starting them with a cruiser line, the more traditional starting spot. As far as them having auto loaders, the Canarius was supposed to have that, and then it didn't, and then they stuffed it on Bazan. So obviously a national flavor for Spain. The decision has been made that it will be auto loaders. And everybody knows, the Spanish Armada, very, very well known for rapidly loading cannons for large broadsides, I suppose. I don't know. I think I'm stoked about it because of those Spanish Armada jokes that we'll get to make.
Grant Y has one about Olé.
If you sing somebody, you can tell them they didn't expect the Spanish Inquisition. There's there's fun in that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
As far as the boats, we'll see them when they come out. I'm fine with that. The DDs sound interesting. I don't know if I'm really stoked about a line of radar smoke DDs with good guns, but whatever.
I mean, I am, but that's more my flavor than yours on destroyers. But we'll see how they wind up coming out, and what they've done with the burst fire mechanic on Bazan wound up not being super overpowered, right? I think Bazan is probably better than people think it is, but not as good as people want it to be, right? It's probably like mediocre plus or average plus minus or something, right? Like it's pretty well balanced, I think, as a ship. And so I feel like there's some faith that they can get those Spanish cruisers right. The Pan-Euro destroyers smoke, good guns, and radar is an interesting thing. I don't know that that's something that they could I don't know that we've got an example of something like that in the game today. I mean, there's a few cruisers, right? But
the interesting thing that got posted by one of the friends of the show, one of the viewers, I don't remember who, but they posted it on Discord today, and basically they say in the Spanish line that the tier 10 will have 254 millimeter guns. And I guess in the web content, they show a silhouette of this Spanish cruiser, and it's a silhouette of the Napoli.
Oh, yes.
So if the Spanish tech line tier 10 is some kind of tech tree Spanish Napoli with an autoloader,
sign me up.
And maybe, maybe not rolling smoke. I would expect it won't have rolling smoke because that's the Italian gimmick. Maybe not sap secondaries or whatever. But if it has, and I'm like, okay, that's, whatever, that's kind of cool, I guess, at least asset reuse. And, you expect Spain will have a bunch of stuff like that where it's like, well, they might have some stuff that's carbon copies of, like, Canarius was like a real ship that was designed or built by the British, right? But it doesn't quite, it's not quite a Lendon. It's not, it's kind of its own thing.
Yep.
And I would assume because of, history in World War II era, right? And so I assume you'll see like some kind of Spanish Nuremberg or Spanish.
There'll be some borrowed
Spanish York or something like that. Yeah, I think you might see some German borrowed there, and then they're gonna play this. Well, they may have borrowed from the Italians, their Mediterranean neighbors, or they may have borrowed, just because Rigolo and Alvaro Bazan, Alvaro Bazan is an Italian ship. So, I think you'll see that. You might even see some French borrowage or something. I don't know. So
there's a number of.
I don't know. Well, I'm curious. I'm curious how it'll play out.
Yeah, same. There are a number of ships in like my World War II Jane's books from the Spanish Navy. Most of them look like they'd be tier 5 through tier 7 ships if they were represented in the game. And some of them are from other countries. I'd like to go and flip through that again now with an eye towards the future, or I could just wait and Wargaming will tell me what they're going to be, which might be the best way to do it. But
I'll bring my fighting ships of World War I and World War II over, and we'll put a webcam on your dining room table, and we'll
that'd be cool.
And we'll just flip through real books and talk to people.
To go back to that meme you mentioned, the Italian. The person who identified that the silhouette was the same. They also talk about the caliber of the guns. I think they say they're 234s, which is also what's on Napoli. We had a couple of comments in chat I wanted to address too. Speaking of the European destroyers, Nunez Juno Streamer said maybe the super short radar. Maybe they could have a super short radar duration as well, like 12 or 14 seconds, which might be enough to finish off a DD if you're scrapping with one. That could be a way they could help balance those ships as well. And then Foamy Jetty says radar smoke controls both ends of the visibility equation. It'll be interesting to see how that gets balanced without being OP or like a wet sock. And I threw in chat there that, original Belfast and Plymouth are two ships that have this. I can't think of any others right now off the top of my head. Those might be the only two. That's probably not true. So we may see some other ships that wind up coming out and feeling like those, but not being the same, because if they've got some fun destroyer flavor to them, whereas those are both cruisers, right? Oh, Black. Thank you, Kato. Yeah, the USS Black also has that capability. So it's not a large number of ships that have that, and so thinking of throwing that in on a tech line and then not having the creep be too severe is it's a bit of an ask. All right, let's resume.
First full-fledged Spanish line in our game. It's too early to say something about the exact concepts and specs, but the most important feature will be the burst and turn to fire mode. What's quite nice is the caliber of the guns of the branch will increase from 120mm to 254mm or tier 10.
2 new superships
254, not 234. My bad, misspoke earlier. Let's continue and learn about these superships.
will be entering close testing this spring. The Soviet supercruiser Novosibirsk and the British super battleship Devastation.
Super Petro, probably. Could be Super Nevsky, but it's probably Super Petro. And then Devastation. What a great name for a super fire spamming British boat.
Which will
I look
continue
forward
the
to
Petropavlovsk.
that Super Petro just being a Stalingrad that's like 10 feet lower in the water, that everybody gets at the tier 11.
It's a submarine that just has just the turrets above the water.
It's just a Stalingrad with about a foot of freeboard.
Oh my gosh.
And it's asset reuse 100%. They're like, no, it's not. The reload's like 3 seconds slower, guys. The steel one's still just as good.
Oh yeah. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that'll be Novosibirsk, I think. Novosibirsk. Yeah. And then the British battleship Devastation. Yeah. So, it says continue Petro. So it does say Petro in here. Yep. It is going to be a Super Petro. Anyway, I assume it'll have 305mm guns and a reload booster or something. Like it's going to be, and then 1 foot of freeboard. I like your.
It's gonna have the guns off. It's gonna have the guns off Stalingrad, or even worse, they're gonna be like, we gave it 9 barrels off Sevastopol, and 15-second reload, 12-kilometer radar. It's gonna be totally. Just be glad that what they didn't announce was the tier 11 Russian carrier, because I couldn't imagine. I personally can't imagine how it could be more super than Nakhimov.
Yeah, and I don't want them to show me. I
Correct.
don't. It's not like that song. I don't want them to show me. Anyway,
Hard pass.
Don't want you to show me. Let's continue as we do with these new superships here.
And Conqueror branches respectively.
You can also expect to meet Halford, a Fletcher-class destroyer whose main feature is the presence of an aircraft catapult. She will be the first hybrid destroyer in our game.
In our September
Okay. Fletcher number 6, Skada?
Yeah, Fletcher number 6, the Rob Halford. It's breaking the law, everybody. breaking the law.
So it's Kid Fletcher herself, Black, Velos, Chungmu, and now it'll be Halford's, which I think is a grocery store or gas station in the UK. You British people, hit us up in the chat there. Let us know what Halford's is. I've just heard about it on TV. Yeah.
It's got it. They're like, well, it's a destroyer with a plane catapult. Okay, but like,
so they say,
they say, but that's going to be a tactical flight. Like, it'd be one thing if it was just like, hey, everybody, you can launch a tactical fighter screen off this DD, which you're like, oh, that sucks. Do I have to take that, or can I take something useful, right? But no, they're saying, nah, this thing's gonna every minute and a half, this thing's gonna be able to deploy 6 torpedo planes or some silly shit. Like, I don't know what it is.
In my mind, I don't have time to fly airplanes around in a destroyer. Yep. Destroyers are busy all the time.
100% concur.
So what are you gonna do? Drive out to the J line and then launch your planes and
You're at a USDD, so you're gonna smoke up, and then you're gonna launch your planes out of smoke.
You can't do
and
that.
You're gonna hope that you don't get torped, I guess.
The only other thing I can think of, and this is like, okay, well, if I had to make, if my boss came in and said, hey, Clyde, I need you to make the hybrid destroyer concept, and I tell him no, and then he goes, well, have it done on Friday. I go, okay. So I go over to the whiteboard and I go, okay, the way this works is it's a airstrike that I can launch off of my airplane. It only goes 6 kilometers, and it's more like launching torpedoes, except for it's just like animated as airplanes, and it's bombs, so I can throw it over islands or something. Like, you're
describing Trump.
I kind of am, I guess. Maybe that's what it is, right? But maybe it's torpedoes instead of bombs, right? You know what I mean? Like, did they say what it was? What kind of planes it was?
No, they didn't say. We're going to get to the point, right? It's one of those things where countries have like a wacky gimmick, right? And then after a while, that gimmick will leak to another nation on a premium. Like
100%.
Main battery reload boosters has leaked from France to Japanese premiums, right?
Mm-hmm. In Germany too, we got on ZF6, right?
Yep. So someday we're gonna have like the Trump style or the Dutch cruiser style airdrops leak to another country on a premium as a gimmick. That's gonna happen. Yeah. But this truly sounds like what they're describing here is that you launch a tactical flight.
It does
like you do from Issei or Tone or something, which just isn't a job that I want to do from a DD.
No, it seems like a good way to get killed. And so, like, I'm curious what their plan is to keep me alive while we're doing it. So, I mean, Wargaming, God love you, but like, guys, help me understand. And maybe they will. Maybe we'll see what comes here in the next few months, and they'll clear it up for me. I don't know.
I hope it's a tier 8 Fletcher if it's going to do that, so it gets the kid treatment.
That'd be nice, right?
Because I'm not looking
at tier 8.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not looking forward to the Halford's web campaign that you have to go to the website for every day to click on, so that at the end of the web campaign you can get the Halford for $140.
Oh no!
That's what's gonna happen.
She will be the first hybrid destroyer in our game.
In our September 2021 message to the community, we promised to release West Virginia 44 in 2023. We are now happy to announce that she will enter close testing this spring.
In our next block, a Tier 9 Japanese premium battleship as the new construction
they go through all that stuff. They go through all that stuff, and then they're like, oh, and by the way, remember how like you guys wanted West Virginia 44 like 400 years ago? We're doing it. Did you guys want a California with Colorado guns? It's coming. It goes 20 knots. It goes 20 knots. It's got big torpedo bulges, which is great in this year's game. It can eat tons of subtorps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that. West Virginia 44, for people who are newer to the game, we've been asking for this forever. Because it's like a West Virginia that has like really good AA was the concept back in the day, I think. And I don't know that anybody's going to be like, oh, sweet. Now I got... Because back when we were asking for that, that was back when like Texas used to swat down planes and stuff, and nowadays that's less of a thing than it used to be. I'm not going to be one of those people who says AA does nothing, you should just uninstall it from my ship because I know better than that. But like it's not like it used to be. We used to have AA that was a little more impactful.
I'm no soothsayer, but they do say in that little bit there that it will enter closed testing this spring. So you can mark down on your calendar that West Virginia 44 is the 4th of July ship.
Yeah, I was going to say that means a summer release probably, right? So yeah,
that'll be like last year it was Sandog or San Diego or Hornet kind of were in that time frame. It'll be West Virginia 44 this summer.
The other thing I want to chat about here too is we're doing Daisen, I think is how that's pronounced. Maybe I'm way wrong. Help me out, people. In the Dockyard, and like we did Daisen in the Dockyard, which is really similar, or at least it looks similar. I don't know that it's the same boat, right? I think Daisen has accurate guns, fewer of them, and I don't know what caliber they are. Do you know how big Daisen's guns are?
Yes.
Do you know what it says on the devlog about how big the guns are? I can't remember.
Yes.
Chat, if you know,
I think they're 410s like everything.
I thought they were 410s, but maybe they just got an increase in accuracy then over Daisen.
If you look at those turrets there, they look, they kind of look like those long ass barrels. It's similar to like what's on. It's similar to what's on Awami.
Awami, I think. Yeah.
That pretty sure that was the thing. I was kind of disappointed when they announced this one was gonna. There's been a lot of speculation recently. What will be the next Dockyard? A lot of people thought it might be Illinois. Turns out it's a tier 9 Japanese battle cruiser, battleship, knee battle cruiser, right?
Knee battle.
But also I'm disappointed it's a 9, right? Because having done dockyards now for a few years, usually the mid-year dockyards we get are only tier 8 boats, right? So they're not as arduous.
A little bit easier on the schedule, right?
Yeah, and this one being a 9, when it's a 9, that means you're going to see something more akin to what you see at Christmas time, where you've got like 7 weeks of dockyard missions that you've got to plow through. It's going to be my assumption.
I can imagine people looking at this and not being able to tell the difference between Daisen, Izumo, and the other, because maybe they're not doing the research. There are some differences between those ships. I won't be able to quote them all to you right now, but it does feel like we just kind of had 2 of these, so I'm a little bummed that it isn't something else. Maybe, like you say, a tier 8 would have been interesting too, but let's see what they have to say about the ship here.
This premium battleship as the new construction project at the Dockyard. A new map, long awaited by commanders, and recommended upgrades at the push of one button. About all of this, right now.
By the way, showing this Waterline logo every minute and a half, it seems like a bit much.
Yeah, I got my own opinion on that. That's so they can cut this all into YouTube shorts and put it back out as YouTube shorts in a couple days.
Absolutely.
Although Admiral Schroeder is still under construction at the Hamburg shipyard. The next ship in Spring Dockyard is a Japanese premium tier 9 battleship Daisen, a fast-moving battleship with a powerful artillery and torpedoes.
The battleship features an accurate main battery, but a small number of guns. The armament is also represented by torpedo tubes with high range and torpedo damage. The battleship has a very high cruising speed. Furthermore, we are working on a new feature.
Yeah, it doesn't. He said very high cruising speed. I can't remember what it said in the dev blog, but I'm going to go look that up later. If somebody grabs it and wants to throw it in chat, that's great. Thank you. If not, no pressure, no worries. So torpedoes like Iwami, accurate main battery. I think Iwami's guns are relatively accurate. I can't remember what the Sigma is on Iwami, 1.9 or something.
Iwami's guns and their Sigma's more accurate than Yamato.
Yeah, they're good, right? So you can hit
actually
stuff
has
with
really high accuracy. I think I don't know anything about this ship, but I doubt it will be like that. I bet it'll be more like Daisen, but who knows?
A little bit less accurate than Iwami, maybe. Yeah, that's a possibility, right? So we'll see how she goes on that. It's difficult to say. So I think trying to slice the difference between those ships, we'll maybe need to take a look at the 3 of those at least, and maybe throw a couple others in. Maybe we can do a comparo sometime. And
in the footage, at least to me,
difference.
They show that thing in the footage, and it looks to me like somebody mentioned in chat they got incomparable today. It looks like incomparable to me. That it looks like it's this very narrow, very long ship. Yeah. And I'm guessing that it then is also a very fast ship.
They did say it's a very high-speed ship. Yeah,
and it probably also has a junk turning radius, but it's a weird design. It's probably based on some napkin they found in a bar in Osaka.
Anyway, all right, let's continue. We've got 2 minutes left on this 4-hour video we've been watching.
Feature that will allow you to enter new battles after your ship is destroyed without the need to wait until the battle ends. This way, you will be able to do more battles on your favorite ship during the game session. which will help you speed up your progress in the game.
A special temporary battle type will also mark the 1st of April. We are not ready to share the details yet, but we can say that it was inspired by one of the former temporary battles that appeared in the game before.
April Fool's Day mode? Okay.
Yeah. Two important things there, right? That's huge news about no refractory period on ships.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
Like, you lose, you go back to port, you can take your boat out right away again. They've done that in other modes before. The Halloween modes have allowed you to do stuff like that. So it's not like there's some kind of mechanical reason you can't. That's a big change. I know we actually talked about this at lunch today, and I think you had a really good take on it. So I'll stop talking.
You know, when I was new in World of Warships, I played and I wanted to go up the Japanese destroyer line because there was only 2 countries in the game, and I wanted to play my Japanese destroyers over and over and over again. And what would happen is I was bad at World of Warships. So I would go into a battle, I would get killed immediately, and then I would go, oh man, I gotta wait to play. What do I do now? I guess I'll go get another ship. And I'd go get another ship and I'd go play that ship. And then after a while I did it again. I started playing all these different ships. Then I ran out of port slots and I had to go buy port slots. And I got more, and I thought, you know what? I need some premium now, right? So I went and I got some premium time, and it was a way I felt, and I still feel that you can't play that ship again right now thing is a way to kind of get new players to explore different tech lines and different ships, and basically to sell them port slots and stuff and make a little bit of money. And all that. And again, nothing wrong with making a little bit of money when you are a business. I have no problem with that. But the situation where that's going away is interesting. And I do believe that it'll also help players race to tier 10 faster, which I don't think is a healthy thing. I think we want players to get to tier 10 with experience, not to get to tier 10 and then be in a difficult situation because they can't hang up there and they're causing more steamroll type games, right? So that's kind of my take on this, is that I think this is a nice thing for new players in that they'll be able to continue to play whatever their favorite ship is. This is a great thing for people who need to do missions with a specific type of ship. So like if you need to run the same ship over and over again to get some amount of base XP or something, or it's the best ship for getting citadels or whatever, this is a huge help for grinding missions like that. And then for certain people who take part in certain programs and have to play certain ships certain numbers of times, that'll be a benefit to them as well. So I think there'll be a lot of communities that are really excited about this. I think overall it's a good thing for the players and the player base, but I am a little worried about people racing one ship to tier 10 faster than ever before using this new technique.
Yeah. Quick counterpoint.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know that guy, we'll be playing random matches and there's that guy who's got 18,000 matches in a Clemson. That guy is just stoked.
Yeah.
Because now he can just he's just gonna go even faster to that club. And those seals, they're there and they're just gonna keep getting clubbed, and he's just gonna be so excited.
Yeah.
He's just so effing happy. That's my counterpoint.
Please don't lean into the microphone anymore. Please no.
I don't like that. That part of it bothers me. I
don't need somebody with 30,000 Fujin games. Yeah, I don't need that.
That guy that exists that has 40,000 matches in a tier 1 cruiser that just beats on people is just going to be so stoked that his one tier 1 that he likes so much he can just bring back that much quicker, right?
Yeah.
That worries me about this. The rest of everything you said I think is cool. I do think there's probably some abuses that will come from it, but we'll have to see.
There will be. Freaknik points one out too that I heard from another player. Freaknik is a variant on this, but the idea that you log into a game, maybe you're the kind of player who's running matchmaking modern, and you go, oh, we're gonna lose anyway. I need to play this ship, but I'm gonna go throw it away so I can get into a game with better matchmaking. Those kinds of abuses, not cool. First of all, don't do that. And second of all, I won't be able to stop you from doing that. So I'm a little worried about some edge cases like that. I don't think that is normal. I don't think that is what most people will do, but I think that sometimes some people will do that, and it will be very frustrating if it happens, or if it feels like it happens, even if it's not intentional. So there's a couple of rough edges with that concept, but I think all in all, it's probably good, at least for individuals. So we'll see how it goes. All right, we're moving on before this conversation continues.
A new map, Seychelles, was announced to enter closed testing last summer. While developing it, we were inspired by the real geographical terrain of the Seychelles Islands, During testing, we had to make some changes to ensure the quality of the game experience and that the map was balanced. But there is still a clear link to the real Seychelles. In the spring of this year, we plan to release Seychelles on the main server.
Also, we plan to improve the equipment at the top as well. We are going to add recommended upgrades for each ship as it's currently displayed in the Commander Skills tab, as well as a button in which, when clicked, will place the set of recommended upgrades on the ship similar to the existing button for the signals.
In the last episode of Waterline, we announced the changes in the notifications and settings tab which were to be released by the end of last year. Due to various circumstances, we had to postpone these improvements to this spring.
Let us remind you what exactly will be improved. Notifications for the players in the port will be updated. There are plenty number of improvements that will make them more systematic and informative.
All right, I'm going to pause this. This is the kind of stuff that you could roll your eyes or glaze over and not think about. First of all, Seychelles coming out. I think that's cool. I'm excited to see a map that's at least seriously inspired by real geography. I am concerned about the balance things. It sounds like they're working on that, and that's good news. I hope it comes out fantastic. What was the thing right after that? Oh, the automatic mounting of upgrades. You know, I don't know that I would use those very often, but I think that some players definitely will. I think, you know, when you get to a new ship, that might not be a bad thing to do. I would encourage players to pay attention to what it's picking and understand all of those selections before you hit the button, because you will spend doubloons to demount those if you need to, or you'll sell them at a huge loss in credits. So make sure if you're clicking that button, you know what you're expecting, you know what you're getting, and you're perfectly happy with that. I'd like to save you money and or credits in that way. And then the improved notifications is interesting. One of the things that's a little bit weak in Wargaming is the notifications. When I give somebody an economic bonus code and they cash it in and they go, hey, I didn't get anything, I go, well, you got to go check your notifications and look at your additions. I'm hoping that they flesh out some of that stuff and that becomes more interesting and informative. It's something that I know I've been part of a lot of conversations about that with other gamers and fans of the game, where we want that to be more robust and more better. So hopefully that's a good thing. Skada, I know those are kind of somewhat innocuous topics, but do you have any thoughts on any of that?
I mean, I think there's a lot of clamoring for a number of years by prominent streamers about how they never put new maps in, and so putting a new map in last year was cool. Putting a new map in this year is cool. I'm fine with that. It's unfortunate. I like how it starts out. They say, you know, we mapped it after the Seychelles and then we had to change it. You know, when it comes into the game and it looks like Great Britain, I guess folks shouldn't be surprised, but you know, that'd be kind of funny, I suppose. Yeah. But the what was the second thing? The equipment, automatic mounting of equipment. Yeah, you know, as a guy who has to mount and demount a lot of equipment, I kind of like that idea. But I'll tell you, counterpoint there. You ever spend any time looking at what they recommend for what you should make your captains look like on some ships, and you go, why would I take Dazzle, or why would I take Outnumbered, right? Yep. So that gives me pause that they would be suggesting equipment modules that I would not want any part of, right? Like that's all. So I probably wouldn't use that functionality. But you know, if you're new and you don't have a dang idea what you should be doing with that stuff, you know, it probably wouldn't be the worst thing to use their prescription.
One of the things that's interesting about that button is I presume if you don't have the modules, you'll click it and it'll be like, do you want to spend 12 million credits? And you'll be like, sure, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
And so,
I'm sure
you know,
it'll have to work that way. Yeah.
Again, like I say, just pay attention. Make sure you know what you're getting when you click the button. And not that, you know, a couple of 25 dubs is a lot of money when you hit, you know, demount. I think it's 10 cents, right? Isn't that 10 cents or so? So like, you know, it's not a big cost, but let's not spend any dubs we don't have to. Let's not lose any credits we don't have to. I think it'll be kind of a silly thing. Frost Knight points out secondary Montana, not really something that you want to build into necessarily. It's not really what she's for. Okay, let's continue on. We're getting close to the end here.
Secondly, we plan to redesign the settings interface by making them more user-friendly. The selected options will be stored on the server, and thanks to the improvements under the hood, we are able to easily add the new settings if it's necessary.
Okay, when they said your settings are stored on the server, that's the kind of thing that I think players could miss on this too. What that means is that your settings will be accessible to you anywhere. If you switch computers, or if you reinstall World of Warships or any of that, your information is going to be available. Your settings about resolution and whatever else that they're talking about is going to be stored in the cloud, essentially. So some of the settings right now are stored in your local install folder. And so like if you're a person who plays on 2 computers, like sometimes I'll play on a different computer. I know, Skada, you use 2 computers. You'll move to another computer and your settings will be all different, right? That could be good and could be bad if you want different settings on different computers. I don't know how that's going to work. I'm a little concerned.
Yeah,
about
it depends on what settings they're moving, right? Like,
right, we're not 100% sure.
Like if they're talking like your key bindings, let's say you're a guy that you use non-standard key bindings. Okay, that's handy if that's on the server, but like,
but resolutions.
I don't want anything to do with that, right? Like, you know, I on this computer I'm playing in 5120 by whatever it is, the super ultra widescreen, and on my laptop it's 1920 by 1080. I don't want to have to deal with those kind of shenanigans, right? And then as somebody who edits preferences.xml and locks my frame rates based on my displays, I don't want that changing. Like, I want on this computer, I want my frame rates locked at 120. On my laptop, I want them locked at 144. And I lock my port frame rates at 30, especially on this computer, because I don't want to melt my leg as my graphics card gets super hot in port when it's trying to do whatever they do in port. I'm pretty sure mining Bitcoin is what it's doing in port, but
I think that they recently locked it at a lower rate.
Yeah, I lock all my clients at 30 for that purpose. And so I have some questions about what they're talking about moving here.
Yeah, I'm interested in understanding that.
If it's my crosshair selection, that'd be great. If it's a keybind or something, okay. If maybe I don't even want sound settings going. I mean, my sound settings are different. There's a lot of stuff different between my 2 computers that I play on in that regard. So we'll have to see what that means, what it translates to.
Right. From a quality of life perspective, hopefully they get it right, and they understand those differences exist across machines, and that players, will log in and use different systems.
And that's it. With you, Stacy
and Emil. Press the like button and subscribe.
And see you in the next Waterline.
Hey.
That's the part I like. I like how happy she is that they finished it.
Well, again, thank you, Skada. Thanks everyone for watching the news. This is, if you're watching this on YouTube, come and hang out with us on Twitch at twitch.tv/ClydePlaysLive. If you're watching on Twitch right now, we'll go and we'll do a giveaway for a CC container. And we'll do that real quick here. And maybe play a couple of games, maybe 1 or 2 games, and then call it a night. But thanks so much for watching this. I hope you had a fantastic time with us. And we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, captains. Goodbye.
This has been the news on Clyde Plays Live.